My golden brother framed me as a thief to steal the inheritance, but I exposed his fraud and took everything back. Name's Ryan, I'm 23, and my life flipped upside down faster than you can say family betrayal. Seriously, 1 minute I'm the quiet kid everyone underestimates, and the next, I'm being kicked out of my own house. Buckle up, this one's a ride. It all started at Grandpa Joe's funeral. Grandpa was everything to me. The man taught me how to throw a perfect curveball, let me sneak sips of his beer when I was a kid. Don't tell Mom. And always told me I was going to do great things. To everyone else, though, he was more like a human ATM, especially to my brother Alex. Picture a guy who walks around like he's auditioning for a cologne commercial. All polished hair, expensive loafers, and a smirk that screams, "I'm better than you." That's Alex. Grandpa adored him too, at least until Alex started treating family gatherings like networking events. But me? Grandpa Joe was my rock. So, while I was mourning the man who'd shaped my life, Alex looked like he was planning a victory lap around the inheritance. When the lawyer started reading the will, I wasn't even listening at first. Honestly, I figured Grandpa would split everything evenly to keep the peace. But then my name came up. To Ryan, I leave a significant portion of my assets. I blinked. Significant? Like, actually significant? Across the room, Alex's face twitched, and for the first time in forever, his smirk disappeared. Alex still got his share, of course, but judging by the way his jaw clenched, it wasn't enough to fund the new yacht, or whatever midlife crisis toy he'd been dreaming of. I left that room feeling like maybe, just maybe, Grandpa believed in me as much as I'd always believed in him, but that high didn't last long. The next morning, I was yanked out of bed by Mom's voice echoing through the house. "Ryan, get down here right now!" Half asleep, I stumbled downstairs, hair a mess, still wearing yesterday's sweatpants. Alex was waiting, standing in the middle of the living room, holding a torn-up family photo like he'd just uncovered a conspiracy. "Caught Ryan sneaking into the safe last night," Alex announced with this weird mix of triumph and faux heartbreak. "He took Grandpa's emergency cash." I squinted at him, confused as hell. "What safe?" I mumbled, rubbing my eyes. Alex, ever the showman, pointed at the coffee table. There it was, a wad of cash with a sticky note that might as well have said, "Planted evidence, do not touch." "Mom, I found this in his desk drawer," Alex continued, his voice dripping with mock righteousness. He turned to me with the fakest disappointed look I'd ever seen. "How could you do this to Grandpa's memory, Ryan?" Mom gasped like she'd just seen the family dog run into traffic. "Ryan, is this true?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Of course not," I shot back, but Alex wasn't done. "Don't lie, Ryan," he added, shaking his head. "You're better than that. Just admit it." He wasn't better than anything, but apparently, Mom wasn't in the mood for critical thinking. Before I could even explain myself, she told me to pack my things. "No trial, no jury," I muttered, trudging upstairs to grab my duffel bag. "Just straight to execution." Alex just stood there, smirking like he'd won the damn lottery. And for the first time, I realized how far he was willing to go to make sure I stayed in his shadow. Kicked out with nothing but a duffel bag, a bruised ego, and no clue where to go, I landed at Tyler's place. Well, technically, his garage. Not exactly five-star accommodations, but it had a beanbag chair, a mini fridge, and Wi-Fi. What more could a recently disowned guy ask for? Tyler, being the legend he is, handed me a beer as I collapsed into the beanbag like it was a therapist's couch. "Man, your brother's a piece of work," he said, shaking his head. "I mean, we all knew he had drama queen energy, but this? Top tier, Oscar-worthy." "Yeah, tell me about it," I muttered, cracking open the can and staring at it like it might have the answers. Spoiler, it didn't. But why now? Why frame me? He's been petty before, but this is next-level evil genius. Tyler raised an eyebrow. "Maybe because he's desperate? People don't pull this kind of crap unless they've got something to lose." That thought stuck with me. Alex had always been obnoxious, sure, but desperate. That wasn't his usual vibe. Later that night, lying on an old mattress that smelled faintly of gym socks, I found myself doom-scrolling to distract from my new, houseless and betrayed reality. Memes weren't cutting it, and then, like fate had subscribed me to drama alerts, I stumbled on Alex's Instagram. There he was, smiling like a Cheshire cat in a series of posts that screamed new money. A brand new watch here, an expensive cocktail there, even a suspiciously shiny-looking car in the background of one pic. One caption really sealed the deal. Hard work pays off. Hard work? I snorted, rolling my eyes so hard I could have pulled a muscle. The guy's biggest achievement is not getting avocado on his shirt at brunch. Tyler, who'd been half asleep on the couch, cracked one eye open. What's he up to now? I shoved my phone toward him. Apparently, he's out here living his best life while I'm stuck in your garage. He was broke last month, Ty, like asking me for gas money broke. And now he's out here playing Kardashian? Something's not adding up. Tyler squinted at the screen, then let out a low whistle. Either he's got a secret sugar daddy, or he found a very sketchy side hustle. My money's on the latter. My brain started connecting the dots. Grandpa's emergency fund had been untouched until the will was read. And now Alex was suddenly loaded. Yeah, no way that was a coincidence. The suspicion gnawed at me like a dog with a bone. Tyler was right. This wasn't just Alex being his usual obnoxious self. This was something bigger, and if Alex thought he could get away with it, he clearly underestimated just how far I was willing to go to uncover the truth. With Tyler's help, I decided to channel my inner detective. Honestly, calling it a challenge would be overselling it. Alex's ego practically left a glowing neon trail. The guy's arrogance was so big it couldn't fit in the same room as common sense. If he'd hidden his tracks any worse, he might as well have handed me a treasure map with X marking the evidence. Step 1. Hack his email. Relax, I'm no cybersecurity expert, but Alex made it ridiculously easy. His password? Alex the best 123. I mean, come on. A toddler with a toy laptop could have cracked that one. Once I got in, it was like finding the key to the kingdom. Or in this case, his stupidity. The first thing I stumbled upon. Receipts. And not for everyday stuff like groceries or a Netflix subscription. Oh no. We're talking top-tier luxury. Designer suits, a watch that probably cost more than my entire bank account, and even a prepaid trip to Vegas. That's right, Vegas. Just a month ago, this guy was whining about being too broke to pay for gas, and now he's bawling out like he's hosting a casino grand opening? Then I hit the jackpot. An email chain with some sketchy consultant. This guy promised to take care of the problem for a hefty fee. And wouldn't you know it? The amount he paid matched Grandpa's missing emergency fund to the penny. And guess who the problem was? Oh yeah, me. Apparently, Alex needed me out of the way. Like we're starring in some low-budget mafia drama. But the pièce de résistance? A photo Alex had sent to one of his equally shady friends. It showed a fat stack of cash laid out on his bed, like it was posing for its modeling debut. The caption? Too easy. The brat never saw it coming. I stared at the screen, my blood boiling like a kettle about to blow. Tyler leaned over, squinting at the photo. Dude, he said, voice dripping with sarcasm. Is that Monopoly money, or is your brother just an actual idiot? Nope, I muttered, my stomach twisting into knots. That's the real deal. And yeah, he's an actual idiot. At that moment, I realized two things. One, Alex wasn't just a smug jerk. He was a full-blown criminal jerk. And two, there was no way I was letting him get away with this. If he wanted a war, he'd picked the wrong brat to mess with. Let's burn his golden crown, Tyler said, slamming the laptop shut with the kind of dramatic flair that made it seem like we were plotting a heist. Honestly, he looked like he was auditioning for the lead in a revenge thriller, and I couldn't help but laugh. But he wasn't joking. No, seriously, man, Tyler said, eyes practically gleaming with excitement. This dude's ego is so inflated, it's just waiting for someone to poke it. And who better than us? I shook my head, still grinning. You're enjoying this a little too much, aren't you? Duh, Tyler shot back. It's not every day you get to take down the world's most arrogant wannabe Elon Musk. He wasn't wrong. Step 1 of our plan? Use Alex's own narcissism against him. This wasn't hard. The guy couldn't resist flaunting his ill-gotten gains all over social media, so I started leaving little breadcrumbs in the comments, just enough to nudge him into revealing more. Under a photo of him showing off his new Rolex, I commented, "Wow, Alex, did you win the lottery? Or just cash in on that unexpected windfall?" Alex, being Alex, couldn't resist taking the bait. "Hard work pays off, bro," he replied. I could practically hear the smugness in his tone, like he thought he'd just dropped the mic. Little did he know, he was writing his own confession in real time. While Alex was busy inflating his ego online, Tyler and I went full Sherlock Holmes in the garage. We spent hours combing through every scrap of evidence we'd gathered. Emails? Check. Screenshots? Double check. And the pièce de résistance? A video recording of Alex talking to one of his slimy buddies. In the video, Alex leaned back in his chair, grinning like the villain in a discount superhero movie. "Had to teach Ryan a lesson?" he said, casually sipping some overpriced drink. "And hey, the stash was just a bonus." Tyler hit pause and nearly fell off his chair laughing. "Ryan never had the guts to take on someone like me," Alex had declared, practically oozing arrogance. "Dude," Tyler said between gasps for air, "your brother is like a Bond villain, but dumber, and with way worse hair." "Yeah, and about half the brains," I muttered, shaking my head. The plan was coming together beautifully. Every piece of evidence we found tightened the noose around Alex's golden boy reputation. His arrogance was the gift that kept on giving, and by the time we were done, Alex wouldn't just lose his crown, he'd lose the whole damn throne. Tyler clinked his soda can against mine, grinning. "Here's to justice, garage style. Family dinner. Classic setup for chaos, right? Picture this. My parents at the head of the table, my aunt pretending she's better than everyone because she's gluten-free, and of course, Alex sitting there like he just won the lottery. Which, let's be real, in his mind, he basically had. The tension was thick enough to cut with a butter knife. I kept my head down, poking at the mashed potatoes, while Alex basked in his self-appointed glory. "How's life outside the house?" he asked, voice dripping with fake concern. "Found a job at McDonald's yet?" Cue the table chuckling awkwardly like we were all in on some inside joke. Spoiler alert, the joke was Alex. That was it. My moment. I leaned back in my chair, wiped my mouth with the napkin. Dramatic effect is everything. And stood up. "Actually, Alex," I said, pulling a flash drive out of my pocket like it was Excalibur, "I've got a little presentation for everyone tonight." The room went quiet, except for Aunt Gluten-Free muttering something about the sodium in the potatoes. I walked over to the TV, plugged in the flash drive, and hit play. Boom! There it was. The video of Alex, smug as ever, bragging to his slimy friend about how he taught me a lesson and made a nice stash in the process. The silence that followed? Chef's kiss. You could have heard a pin drop. Mom gasped like someone had just told her they stopped carrying her favorite wine. Dad just stared at the screen, his fork frozen mid-air. "Lies! He's lying!" Alex screeched, jumping out of his chair like he'd been electrocuted. Honestly, it was kind of impressive how fast he went from smug to desperate. "Oh, really?" I said, pulling a stack of printed emails from my bag and tossing them onto the table. "Because these screenshots? They say otherwise." Alex grabbed at the papers, but Dad beat him to it. As he read through them, his face went through about 10 different emotions, none of them good for Alex. This can't be true," Mom whispered, looking from me to Alex like her world was falling apart. "Believe it," I said, arms crossed. "Your golden boy isn't just a liar. He's a thief." Alex's face turned redder than the cranberry sauce. "You set me up!" he shouted, pointing a shaky finger at me. "Dude, you literally set yourself up," I shot back. "I just connected the dots." At that moment, the golden glow around Alex finally dimmed. For the first time, he looked small, and for the first time, I felt like I'd finally stepped out of his shadow. My dad looked like he'd been hit by a truck. His face went pale, and for the first time in forever, He wasn't sure what to say. "Alex," he finally whispered, his voice cracking like he was about to lose it. "Is this true?" Alex froze, his mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. For someone who's always full of quick comebacks, he was suddenly struggling to find a single word that wouldn't dig his grave even deeper. Meanwhile, Mom started crying, and not her usual, "oh, I spilled red wine on the couch" crying. No, this was full-on heartbreak mode. But here's the kicker. She wasn't crying for Alex, she was crying for me. I'll admit, I didn't expect that. I mean, this was the same woman who once grounded me for talking back because I told Alex to pick up his dirty socks. Yet there she was, mascara streaking down her face, whispering, "Ryan, I'm so sorry." Like she'd just realized she had been backing the wrong horse this entire time. Alex, on the other hand, decided it was time to go down swinging. His mask slipped faster than a cheap Halloween costume, and suddenly he was pointing fingers. "This is Grandpa's fault," he yelled, voice trembling as he tried to rally some last-minute pity points. "He always favored Ryan. I had to do this. I didn't have a choice." "Didn't have a choice?" I shot back, arms crossed. "You chose to frame me, Alex. You chose to steal Grandpa's money. And you sure as hell chose to flaunt it all over social media like a reality TV villain." Dad, who had been sitting in stunned silence, finally snapped. "Enough!" he barked, slamming his hand on the table so hard that even Aunt Gluten-Free dropped her fork. "Alex, pack your things and leave. Tonight." You could see the panic flash across Alex's face as the words sunk in. "You're kicking me out?" he stammered, like the idea of facing real consequences was something he'd only seen in movies. "Damn right," Dad said, his voice cold and steady now. "You're done here." That night, Alex's reign as the Golden Boy officially ended. He stormed out of the house with a suitcase and a scowl, muttering something about how nobody understands him and how this family's a joke. I wish I could say I felt triumphant, like the hero in a cheesy underdog movie, but honestly, it didn't feel like a win. The sting of betrayal was still there, and no amount of justice was going to fix that. But as I stood there watching Alex drive away, I couldn't help but think, for the first time in my life I wasn't the bad guy. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. A few weeks later, Alex's downfall wasn't just a tumble, it was a full-blown avalanche, and man, it was glorious. First, Grandpa's lawyer decided to stir the pot. Turns out all those receipts and emails I handed over painted such a juicy picture of fraud and mismanagement that they had no choice but to reopen the inheritance case. And guess what? Alex didn't just lose his shiny new toys, he lost his entire share. The lawyer redistributed it among the family, which meant the cousins who only show up for Christmas suddenly loved me. But wait, it gets better. Remember that shady consultant Alex hired? Yeah, turns out Mr. Fix-It was actually a con artist. The guy didn't just take Alex's money, he rinsed him dry. I'm talking no refunds, no apologies, and no trace of the guy left behind. Honestly, it was the kind of poetic justice that belongs in a Netflix special. And then there was the social media fallout. Alex's hard work pays off persona didn't age well once people found out the truth. His so-called friends, mostly clout chasers and gym bros, ghosted him faster than you can say, cancelled. His Instagram, once full of flexes and fake motivational quotes, became a ghost town overnight. No likes, no comments, no sympathy. Even Tyler got in on the fun. Scrolling through Alex's dead feed, he smirked and said, "Guess his golden glow was just fool's gold." I couldn't help but laugh. Alex had spent years building this image of perfection, and now it was crumbling faster than a cheap sandcastle. Sure, it didn't erase the sting of his betrayal, but watching karma kick him in the teeth, that was chef's kiss. Now, I'm back on my feet, and let me tell you, it feels damn good. The first thing I did with my share of the inheritance? Started a small business. Nothing flashy, but something practical, something real. Grandpa would have been proud. He always said, build something that outlives you. So, I did. Every dollar went into making it happen, and now it's thriving. Meanwhile, Alex, oh, he's been trying to crawl back into my life. He sent me a few heartfelt texts, classic lines like, "We're family, Ryan. Can't we just move on?" "Sure, Alex. Let me grab a ladder so I can climb over all that betrayal." I ignored him, obviously. Trust doesn't regenerate overnight, especially not when someone spent years nuking every bridge between you. He even showed up unannounced at my business one day, looking like he'd stepped out of a pity party. I just walked past him, smiled at my assistant, and said, "Make sure security keeps that off the property." Do I still feel the sting of what he did? Sometimes. I mean, betrayal doesn't just evaporate. But then I look at my growing company, my independence, and everything I've built without him, or anyone else, holding me back. And you know what? It's satisfying. Because sometimes, karma doesn't just hit, it obliterates. Alex wanted to be the golden boy, but now, he's just a cautionary tale. As for me, I'm finally the one writing my own story, and this time, there's no room for villains.